Hi, welcome. In this video, I'm going to go over programming assignment 4. So let's get started. So we'll get here, program assignment 4. It's very important that you understand program 4 because for the rest of the semester, this is going to be the foundational program for all the rest of the assignments we're going to be doing for the rest of the semester. So let's go over it. So we have some input letters. So the first thing I think we're going to assume here is that the input letters are all going to be lowercase. Oh, there is an uppercase letter in here. Okay, I wanted them all to be lowercase letters. So they are going to be lowercase letters. You can assume that they will be lowercase letters. I think that it says that in the instructions. It doesn't really matter. It's just going to be harder to guess because in uppercase letters and lowercase letters uh, are not the same thing and don't have the same numerical value. So you don't have to make sure that the user enters a lowercase letter. If they enter, even like if you look at my sample output, I enter a symbol. Every single character on your keyboard has a numerical value. So it doesn't really matter. It just makes it harder. Like that's not the point of this. The point of this is just to do a guessing game and to uh, get ready because we want to do a word game. So we're going to do a word game soon. All right. Anyway, so this is the sample output. You're just going to have a loop that's going to say yes or no. Do you want to play the game? And then when they're done with that round, would you like to play another round? So the user can either enter a yes to continue or an N to stop. But actually they could either enter a yes to continue and anything else to stop, or they could enter an N to stop and anything else to continue. You do not need to enforce that they're entering a Y or an N. So the best way to understand the NRature algorithm is to take a look at the sample output. So obviously all letters have a numerical value. And keep in mind that uppercase letters have a different numerical value than lowercase letters. And it doesn't really matter what you could put symbols in your file too. This is just an exercise. We're going to use a struct to organize the data for our game. So the name of the struct is letter guess. We're going to have one character for the solution, one character for the current guess, one character for the number of max guesses. So one integer. So maybe you want to change, we're going to start out with 6 max guesses, but then you feel like you might want to change it to, less or more guesses depending on how the game's going. We're also going to have a bool for too high and a bool for too low. That means that it's alphabetically above or alphabetically below the current guess. So you're going to have the current solution and then the current guess. And you keep the current guess for the next, because see, when they guess this, so then the next time, then you tell them that the guess was alphabetically, that your enter a guess alphabetically above that, which means that this has a smaller number than the solution. And then the next guess will be the next current guess. So if you don't understand about structs, go and review structures. We're also going to enter the last name, the user's name. We're going to pass a constant string. So when you call the play round one round function, you should have already gotten the name. Const there means that you're not going to change the name during the function. You also need to add the pre and post conditions to all these functions. To practice, precondition, what is true before the function is called and what will be true after the function has executed. We're going to be passing our current instance of our letter guess. So you're going to declare letter guess in your main, and then you're going to pass it by reference to your functions. The first function is going to set up. It's going to reset everything, reset and get the new guess from the file, the new letter. Play one round. This is going to play a round of the game. As part of playing a round of the game, you need to get a guess, and then you need to process that guess. So this has a bool return type because it's going to return true if the if the if the guess matches the answer. Guess matches the solution. So a couple of things that I'm a big stickler on are global variables. You should not use global variables in this program, and you should not use break statements to exit a loop. Try to exit your loop without putting a break statement in it. Obviously, your yes/no loop is going to end when the user enters an N. That's not the loop I'm talking about. The loop I'm talking about is the loop that if the user wins, then they haven't reached their number of max guesses yet. So therefore, there's most people would like to just exit the loop by saying break, but try to figure out a different way to get that loop to end without having to put a break statement in your loop. All right, so let's get started. I have a template code here, which has a lot of information on it. And I also have the input file. So I'm going to take my template code here and I'm going to put it here. And then I am going to create a new file here. I think it's called letters.txt. And I can either just put a bunch of letters in here or I can copy and paste the letters that were here. They should all be lowercase. I guess there was one uppercase letter in there. You can put whatever letters you want in here. This is the input file. And so let's run this and see if this code compiles. All right, so this code compiles. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to take a look at this and see what's happening. So we have our setup around function, we have a play one round function, we have a get next guess function, and we have a process guess function. We also have our structure here where we have to add the fields of our struct. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the fields. I don't know if it'll copy from here, but I'll give it a try. All right, so these are our fields. We have a character for the solution, a character for the current guess, a character for the max guesses, and a character and bools for too high and too low. So the first thing you want to do is you want to set up your round. So we're going to go down here. Now, when we set up a round, we're going to have already connected to the file. So we're going to connect to the file. That way the file is going to stay open. We're going to pass our file stream, our object over to the setup one round function. So let's take a look at our setup one round function. All right, our setup one round function, it takes in our current game and it takes in the file stream. So I already gave you this code here. This is going to get the solution. We also want to reset anything that was, so I'm just going to reset all the field values. So I'm going to say current game dot, oh, it doesn't pop up for me. Shoot. All right. So we got all of these. So we're going to set our values here. And each time you're going to call this function to reset the values. Of course, you're going to do that because you want to reset. So we're going to reset our current guess. We can reset our current guess to nothing if we want to. All you do is you just put, can reset it to a space, or you can reset it to whatever you want. I'll just reset it to a blank space. And then we have our current game with all the rest of our fields. This is basically just resetting everything. So I think that we're going to keep our max guesses at 6. I think that's what it says. And our guess too low, guess too high, we'll just put to false. And our guess too low, we'll put to false. Some of these don't really have to be reset, but it's just good practice. All right, so we just reset everything. And this function will get called after a new game gets started because the most important part is you have to get the new solution from the file. So now we want to test this function out and test this function and see if it works. So we're here in our main function. So the first thing you're going to do is connect to the file. Make sure you connect to the file. If you don't connect to the file, you can't play. Now we need to declare an instance of letter game. So our struct is called letter game. I think it's called letter game. Is that right? Oh, it's called letter guess. All right. It's not letter game, it's letter guess. And I can call this my current game. You can name it whatever you want. So now we've declared an instance of our current game. And now we're going to, uh, so we are going to, first I'm going to call the function. I want to make sure before I even do any of this, I want to call the function that I just wrote to make sure that it works as expected. So let's call this function. Again, this might not be where I'm going to call it from. I just want to make sure that everything compiles before I start adding any more features. So I'm just calling this function as a test, and then I'm going to print the letter to see if it got the letter from the file. Okay, current game dot solution. All right, so this is just testing. I declared an instance of letter game, letter guess, and now I'm going to just see if it connects to the file and it gets the letter. So you can see that it did connect to the file and it did get the letter. So now it's time to get this loop. All right, so we also need to get the user's name. So we're going to have a name here, string name. All right, we're going to ask the user for their name. Welcome. What is your name? And we'll get their name. All right, so that's pretty easy. Then we're going to ask them if they want to play. So here's where we're going to have to start. We're going to control our loop. All right, so we're going to have to initialize for our loop. So we'll say name, comma, do you want to play? And of course you can add more interaction. I just don't want you to have to sit here and watch me type. So that's why I generally just put little things when I'm demonstrating, but it's much better to put some instructions, some explanation and stuff like that so that you can it's a better experience. All right, so I can see right here, I forgot to cin. I just put cin with no operator here. Oh, now I have insert. Okay. All right, let's try that. All right, so now I also did something let's see, do you want to play? I forgot a semicolon. I have been doing some Python programming lately. What is your name? Tammy, do you want to play? Now this weird G here is here because I I set up the round, but I actually want to set up the round inside of the loop here. And I don't want to tell the user what the answer is, obviously. So this is where I want to set it up. Actually, I'm going to leave it now. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Just you're not going to want to have it there, but I'm going to leave it there because I want to make sure that this loop works as expected and it keeps getting letters. All right, so we need to initialize for the loop. So like I said before, you can use a Y to continue or you can use an N to stop. I'm going to use a Y to continue and I'm going to use a string. You can use a you can use a you can use a string or you can use a character. All right, so I'm asking the user, do you want to play? And they're going to let me know if they want to play. So I'm going to ask them, do they want to play Y or N? Yes or no. Don't do Q. So then they're going to let me know if they want to play. into my variable yes or no. So then this is going to get a y or an n. So this is going to be the initialization for my loop. Then I'm going to test. So I'm going to say while yes or no is equal to y, or it is equal to y, then we're going to set up a round and get the solution. So let's test this and make sure it's working as expected. We put in the name. Do you want to play? Yes. And as you can see, I have gotten an infinite loop, and I'm continuing to get the last letter in the file, which is probably an L. If I look at it, it is. I got all of the letters, and then when it gets to the end, it just keeps getting the last letter. So I do have a little bit of a problem here. And the reason I have a problem is because I never update my loop. So we need to ask them again at the end here. Now, the reason I like to do a while loop is just for something different. You can do a do while, but so here we're going to say, do you want to play again? Because they play one round and then we play again. Now we test that. Put in the name. Tammy, do you want to play? Yes. Tammy, do you want to play? Yes. Each time it's getting the letter from the file. Yes and no. So that's working as expected. And obviously I don't want them to know the solution. All right, so now we're going to set up. We keep getting a letter from the file, and now it's time to play around. So let's see what's involved in playing around. Well, in playing around, we're going to reset our guess too high and our guess too low to 0. You can put 0 or false. All right, now we're going to have a loop for the number of guesses. And then we're going to use some other functions. So this is a loop that's going to go up to starting at 0 or 1 and up to the number of guesses, right? So then what are we going to do? We're going to have to use these helper functions to process for the game. And notice here we're also passing the name here. All right, so what are the helper functions going to do? Well, the helper functions are going to, we have get next guess, which I even show you here. Where to call it from this function. This is a counting loop. This is a loop that's going to go 6 times. It's only going to stop if they guess correctly. Otherwise, it's going to go 6 times until they did not guess correctly, right? So you're going to have a counting loop for 6 times. All right. Right here, you're going to call the get the guess function. You're going to say what number guess they're on. That's by the iterator of the loop. You're going to call the get next guess function. All right, so this function is going to tell the user to get the guess. It's going to get the current guess, and then it's going to tell the user if it's too low or it's too high. So this I'm leaving for you guys to kind of figure this out, how this works, but I've given you, if you uncomment a lot of it, it will give you a lot of tips to help you. So this function, what this does is it gets the guess, and it so first it displays, the previous guess if it was too low or if it was too high. So if it was too low, and obviously the first time it's not going to display these because the very first time you've reset guess too low to 0. So if you use an if here and you use an if here, so if you say if the guess is too low, you are going to ask them to enter something above it. If the guess is too high, you're going to ask the user to enter something below it. But this is going to be false, so this condition is not going to happen. So you don't want to use an else here. You want to just use ifs. And then so that the next time, the second time and the third time, it will display that properly. But this is where you get the guess. And then processing the guess, again, we're just passing our struct. All right, so in here, you're going to check if the guess matches the solution. And if it does, you will leave this function and return true. All right. Oh, I think I'm doing this in two places. Anyway, maybe I'm giving you guys the option to do guess too high. Oh, this is testing. So this is getting the guess. Okay, I understand what I did here. Okay. So this one here is giving a reminder message about the guess that happened before you do the next guess. This one is here is getting the guess, is taking that guess, the guess that they just did, seeing if they won, and if they won, it's going to return a true, and if they didn't win, it's going to tell them if it's too high or too low, and then return false. So you're going to have to add some other features to here. All right, so this has a lot of help for you. So just one step at a time, just don't try to do everything at once. There's really a lot of help in here, to get you started. I strongly recommend that you use this because when we get to our next assignments, they're all going to follow the same style. So if you go off and do something that's in a whole nother way that you don't really follow or is a different style, then um, we're going to use this as a foundation for our future assignments. So please take this seriously, get help. If you go on to Canvas, there is an entire section on how to get help. And please use the template as a guide and do not wait until the last minute. Thank you.